Bienvenidos a Northtown News Magazine. Yo soy Marty Levinson. Quiero cortarte el pelo.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, Avi's barber, located on Tui next to New York Bagel and Bialy, and we welcome you to Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, this is Northtown News Magazine, and I'm Marty Levinson.
Hey, no you're not.
I object!
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned to the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go?
Hey there, I am really Marty Levinson. Don't let anybody fool you. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org, where there are 1,000 different interviews posted from over the last 8.5 years, and over 300,000 watches on YouTube. Thank you so much. Of course, if you're watching this on YouTube and aren't aware of the fact that we are on regular TV in Chicago and 35 north and northwest suburbs, you should be. And go to the website. In Chicago, I'll just tell you that we're on it Thursdays at 7:30, Fridays at 2:30 p.m. Thursday, 7:30 p.m., Friday, 2:30 p.m. on CanTV 19. In Evanston, we're on at 5 o'clock on Thursdays and 10:30 p.m. on Sundays on ECTV 6. And in 35 north and northwest suburbs, stretching all the way out to Schaumburg and Elk Grove and Buffalo Grove and Arlington Heights and all kinds of places. From Chicago, we're on at 6 p.m. on either channel 19 or 35. And to make things further confusing, on some AT&T systems, we're on channel 99, and some we're on 19 or 35. So, okay, just watch. That's the main thing. In any event, it is a pleasure to reintroduce you to, it's been 6 whole months, and we've been sad, and that we haven't had our favorite piano, who tends to be right, and not just in their politics, but in their correctness.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. And, okay, from the, where's your camera pointing to, Sonny?
Got everybody.
Okay, so, from your camera's right, all the way there we have Louis Diversey, who is the chief cook and bottle washer of Cape Chick, who is a veteran political, who's worked in many, many different campaigns. And in the middle, we have Danielle Rowe, who is with the Illinois
Opportunity Project.
Illinois Opportunity Project, and I'll let her go into detail about that. And we have someone who you ran successfully and are a school board person?
Didn't run successfully.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It's fine. A lot of good stuff has happened since then, which we can talk about.
Okay, but I should tell you her name is Jasmine Hauser. So, and she's the one that does the Peruvian Marty Levinson bit.
That's right. Ecuadorian.
Ecuadorian. I'm sorry about that.
Either one. No, it's all good.
Oh, okay. You know what? I just read something about Ecuador today. I should forward that to you.
Sweet. Do.
So, okay, I will. And yeah, all you guys do good Marty Levinsons. Oh, and of course, Marty really likes yours, Danielle, because you mentioned his address. And Lori, you've always got the dramatic flair to your Marty Levinsons.
Yeah. What about the Hispanic one? Remember
I just
when
mentioned
I did
that.
I know, but the Hispanic one, did he notice that one? I did it in Spanish.
Yes, that's why I
okay.
said
Oh,
that's
good.
why I said Peruvian. I mean,
The Ecuadorian. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay, good.
Okay, no, that's why I said that. Oh, no, trust me, he does not miss a Marty Levinson, especially from a lovely lady.
Yeah,
So,
Thank you, Marty.
so everybody wave over to Marty.
Okay.
Okay, anyway, so we're going to talk politics, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Well, we just came off a huge election.
We came up, were you talking about the mayor election or the presidential election?
Oh no, I'm talking the mayor election, but also for local villages, communities. I don't know what you guys had on your ballot, but we had referenda that really wound up the North Shore in Wilmette.
So tell us about it.
Well, there was about over like $14.2 million of referenda to renovate the bathrooms at Gilson Beach, and also to add on to Langdon Beach. And there was a big group for and a big group against, and the no's won, and so they're not going ahead with it. They've got to revise and reduce the scope of what they wanted to do, because that was just too much,
$14 million for a small village is a lot of money for bathrooms.
Yes, right. Not only bathrooms, but
Allergies, sorry.
to do some other things. But it wasn't, the community was not on board, and I think it was resoundingly, they said no to it by 60-30, I think, or 60-35, or something like that.
What was the overlap on the people that were voting for or against the park that did vote for the New Trier lunchroom project?
Oh, you know what? That I don't know. But what was fascinating was that you had a group come out for the no, we don't want this referendum. You had the people who were environmentally or green come together with those who are fiscal conservatives. And it was a great coalition that formed, and it was pretty strong, and it was resoundingly defeated.
Yeah, and at the Illinois Opportunity Project, we helped almost over 60, almost 70 candidates across the state. And one of the biggest races that we really plugged into was in DuPage County, where they exposed corruption.
Right.
A very interesting story to follow was Kathy Hamilton, who attended a lot of the West Suburban Patriots and Wheaton meetings. She just kept coming. She was asked to run for school board. Or the college board, and she got on. And then she started to come to the meetings and explain what was actually happening. And it took a long time for her to uncover all the corruption that was happening with the money there. And she rallied the troops. She got people to start showing up at the meetings, at the college board meetings. And we and many activists got involved to actually support her efforts. And she endorsed 3 candidates, the Clean Slate, what was it called again?
It was called the Clean Slate.
Yeah, the Clean Slate. For reform, and these reformers went against 12. There was 12 actually that went in for those seats, and she actually won, and is now the College of DuPage is going to see the right decisions being made on behalf of the taxpayer, and so it was something that actually then continued to open up doors for legislators that like Margot McDermott out of Mokina, who it proposed HB 303, which we have a blog on our website, illinoisopportunity.org, that explains that there's these confidential statements that are used to prevent the taxpayer from having government transparency in regards to their severance packages. So these large severance packages are being negotiated behind closed doors, and Representative McDermott said, enough's enough. We're not going to tolerate that. The taxpayer is the one paying for these large
Is this related to College of
severances.
DuPage and all that?
That's exactly
Yes.
it. And you should see Kathy. The Chicago Tribune covered it and just was totally behind Kathy. She's all of like 5 foot tall. She's small and she's spunky and she's courageous. I was just
Very courageous.
Danielle and I were both at an event with the Illinois Republican National Hispanic Assembly on Monday night.
Yes.
It was our national convention out in Elmhurst, and she was awarded really great courage, an award of courage, because it really took a lot to stand up. She was the only one that was pushing this forward. All the others were saying, no, we don't need to look at it. Let the president of the college go on, get this amazing severance package, and who's left carrying the bag but the taxpayers? So she was a real reformer, a real fighter for the taxpayer, and God bless her, because she really took it on and was vilified, but she hung tough. And
Well, I thought he still gets his severance package. I think they're taking him to court for that.
Yes, exactly.
But at least uncovering that that restaurant with the chefs and the sommelier and
I can't remember the figure that's been spent on liquor.
Yeah.
Just from the budget, just from meetings,
Wow.
But it does show, Avi, it shows how one person's voice can actually, be amplified, and you can get behind someone that shows real leadership. And that's what it's going to take going
courage.
forward. Yeah. It takes political courage
It's really
and real
up to
leadership.
individuals. It's like when somebody says somebody ought to do something about this, if they're the one that cares, they're the one that ought to be doing just that.
Exactly.
They're the ones that need to come forward. One point I want to mention, one thing I want to touch upon too before we get too far elsewhere, and we're already too far elsewhere, but that's okay. is you mentioned something I really liked, and you talked about the combination of the green tech, the greenies getting together with the more fiscally conservative crowd.
It was a beautiful thing to see.
People don't understand that, like when they listen to all this talk radio, be it left or right, or and there isn't a newspaper in the country that's completely objective. I mean, maybe newspapers more so than TV, but when I watch TV, I know what I'm getting from Fox News. I know what I'm getting from Breitbart. I also know what I'm getting from MSNBC.
Yes.
Whether they want to admit it or not, which is why I replaced the S with an F. But and even when you're watching PBS, okay, I mean, if you don't think they don't have a point of view, they might talk about things more in depth. But if you don't think they don't come there with certain ingrained, as a matter of fact, some seriously ingrained beliefs, that are not necessarily shared by the rest of the world, maybe their crowd, you're kidding yourself.
Right.
Shut off if you want to watch something on TV news, Tracy Butler, 4:30 to 7, Channel 7.
The weather.
She's not controversial. You'll find out the weather. She's prettier than Tom Skilling. Go check her out.
I'm not sure Tom Skilling's going to like that.
Right.
Tough luck.
Well, bring him on. Bring him on.
Well, talking about getting what you expect, you asked us to read this article out of the Trib.
Let's
the
article
out of the Trib,
let's let people know what the article is.
Okay. So what I was going to say is,
I didn't get to see this.
You wouldn't necessarily expect to have
She's great, Chris McCurry.
Yeah.
a right written
wait, let me just tell people, first of all, the name of the article
coming out of the Trib.
Or
any Chicago newspaper.
This is Scrooges Don't Include Ronner. And this is an article by Kristen McQuarrie.
She's great.
Who's part of their editorial board.
State House chick.
Yeah.
Follow her on Twitter.
And the fact is that what she says is, you want to blame Ronner, who's just been here about 3 or 4 months. He's basically just reacting to the mess that the Democrats have provided
It's called
over
consequences.
the last 12 years. And people don't realize either that when Rod Blagojevich first ascended, if you want to use that word with him, I don't like that word with him, but to office, the fact is that the budget of the state of Illinois was 73% funded, which may not be a really great number, but 73% at least is 3/4 of the way there.
Right.
That's something more doable. After 12 years of Rod Blagojevich and Pat Quinn, we're now in the mid-40s. And
but that goes back to then, because it seemed so good under Blagojevich in those early or mid 2000s.
Because he's spending our future generations'
he wasn't
money.
funding certain things. He was putting the money that was supposed to be going towards pension funding. I don't know what he was doing with it.
Basically
Giving everybody raises.
Whatever kind of, all these human service programs, even though they may sound good on the side, like when people say, like to Ronner, how can you possibly cut aid to so-and-so? It sounds so heartless.
Right.
But the fact is, if you've only got $1 million to spend, and it's good to have a police department, it's good to have a fire department. There are certain necessary agencies.
And that's what the government is supposed to be doing.
So you know what? If you've got money left over afterwards and you want to try to help people, I'm not so against that, although you could also argue for lower taxes, among other things. But the fact is that he, in order to, let's say, appease union members, now let's remember too that a lot of these pensions are going to people who work for government, who are also the major campaign workers in their campaigns for the most part.
Avi, let's talk about what Kristen really said. She said, what jerk could possibly support Governor Ronner's budget cuts? And the reason she had to come out and say it like that was because of what she writes in that really good article, is the fact that it's going to cut autism was programs, and that's what the whole rally was about in Springfield, that they were protesting, is these cuts that are going to help the disadvantaged, the ones that really need these programs. And as Jasmine pointed out, she writes in the article, these are called consequences for not having a budget, and with a super majority Democratic legislature that has been in power and making these decisions. And the article was very raw. I love the way Kristen writes because of that fact that she just puts it out there. And I do enjoy following her on Twitter at State House Check as well. And the point is that if we're going to see fiscal solvency here in Illinois, the governor's going to have to make some decisions. And it's good for the American people, or the Illinoisans, to know on state level as well as national level that, yeah, people are going to have to shut the lights off in these agencies. They're going to have to tighten their belts, because it's not about the taxpayer giving more money, being taxed more. It's about the spending problem in Springfield.
Yeah, and this state has never taken in more money than it is now, and has the last few years. There's been no shortage of income.
You're absolutely right.
Coming in, it's a question of spending is right. And, there is a reason why I think it's Allied Van Lines said more people are moving out of Illinois than any other place. As a matter of fact, my next door neighbor is going to keep his job here, and he's moving to Indiana because it's just too expensive to live here.
Oh my goodness. Well, you talk about, streamlining and saving money. That's
Lean management in Illinois.
Well, that's what Lieutenant Governor Evelyn Sanguinetti is heading up. She is heading up this a consolidation, really, of all our, I think we have 7,000 units of government or something like that, and she's
we have
looking
more,
how to...
We have more than twice as many units of government as any other state in the country.
Right. So she's getting to work on that.
And the
really
highest paid legislator, some of the highest paid legislators.
Well, by the way, you should really say the finest legislators money can buy.
Well, you're welcome.
I don't know about that.
So what are our legislators doing? There was just a bill passed on Tuesday banning baby crib bumpers.
Oh my goodness.
Well, by the way, like I said, money can buy. And don't you think that somebody behind, like, for instance, I know that my state senator, when he's introducing legislation to take money away from people and give it to credit card companies and corporations, if I check his D2s, his financial forms, I know what I'm going to find there. I'm going to find that he's getting money from those people.
Well,
and it's maybe a legalized form of bribery, but it's still bribery.
Well, in the state of Illinois, it's going to be illegal to use or sell baby crib bumpers.
yes, and remind yourselves, no eating dead animals off the side of the roads or lion meat. Just want to remind that. Thank
We
you,
just need
Governor Quinn.
the government to remind us of that.
Yeah.
Well, talking about D2s, you said D2s. You were
Yes.
looking at, take that to the national level. I was reading something about Hillary Clinton and how, with all this money that's been coming into the foundation, the Clinton Foundation, I have a friend who's an accountant. Well, he works at an accounting firm, and he said you can't find, like, there's all this miscellaneous that's couched. They've received, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they can't figure out where it's coming from.
What she's received, I had Peggy Shapiro was on earlier.
Yes.
Right. We
Who
love
pointed
Peggy.
out that
We do
she's
support
received-
Israel.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We love
Yeah,
Peggy.
hi, Peggy. We love you. And she's got an event too coming up, which I think. Well, never. Let's talk about this. But $50 million. The Clinton Foundation has received $50 million from Saudi Arabia alone. Now, we're not talking. Now, maybe to Saudi Arabia, $50 million isn't that much, but $50 million does, will buy an awful lot of things like Bill and Hillary.
Well, that's a question about, like, how does Saudi Arabia treat their women, and she's supposed to be such a champion. She talks about when she came out and announced that I want to be a champion, and women was one of them. But how does Saudi Arabia treat their women?
Yeah, women aren't allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
They're bought and sold, literally.
Right.
I mean, talk about human rights violations. And that's not to mention money from countries like Qatar, which is basically a major terrorist funder.
Yeah. How do you say it?
I'm sorry.
Qatar.
Thank you.
Qatar.
But Avi, let's talk about tactics, right? So we have tactics to get information, to educate. That's something we're big into at the Illinois Opportunity Project, is educating, constituents on good public policy that's for the common good. We want to make sure that we have real leaders that are promoting, the type of budget reforms that we need, pro-growth reforms, government transparency. But that's not sexy. Right, ladies,
right.
That's not sexy. That's not dramatic. But what is dramatic is being America's champion, Hillary Clinton. And not having the background to actually back that up. What is dramatic is how many Illinoisans must die. How many must die in Illinois because they swept funds recently out of the road fund in Illinois. And our legislators, David McSweeney is mine in the 52nd District, and about over 60 other state representatives decided to sweep funds out of the road funds. It's my understanding that there's over $1 billion in this road fund. They swept $400 million. And by July, the next fiscal year budget, they will have again over $1 billion in that fund. So the legislators thought this was a sound sweep to help fill the gaps in the budget, to help support the cuts that the governor is suggesting. And what was interesting is they get this in the mail the next, day, right, Avi? And so let's talk about how many Illinoisans, to Jasmine's point, must leave Illinois, and for our leaders to understand that enough's enough. We don't have to live here. We're underwater in our housing. Our companies are keeping us here. Our roots, my roots are keeping me here in Illinois. I love living in Illinois. I actually do enjoy the seasonal changes of Illinois. But there's going to take people who are going to not...
Working on the fear factor.
Yeah.
And this is also union organized.
Well, let me ask you, this is how many must die? I mean, why are they saying people are dying?
Because they're saying the sweeps from the road fund are basically going to cause our roads to continue to not be maintained, our bridges to collapse like it did in, Minneapolis?
I think this is a picture of Minneapolis'
bridge collapse.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a bit over dramatic. One thing I'll tell you, when I print to Chicago, I print it in Peoria. Okay, so I take a ride down to Peoria. Mm-hmm. One of the most interesting things to me is I'm driving on really good roads the whole way, and I'm not going on major highways a lot of the way. When I get to Chicago, there are so many potholes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, wait a minute now. Stay off of Gulf Road, because you cannot get from this end to that end
Gulf
without...
Road's not on the way to Peoria. But...
No, but you can't get from here to like Schaumburg without just basically road construction the whole way. And then you think, I'm going to get smart. I'm going to hop over to Oakton. Guess what?
Well, by the way, but then again, you're in Crook County now.
Well, speaking of Crook County,
these guys are still getting their money for the union.
Right.
Well, the unions do very well here. I mean, after all,
they're backing.
It's a distraction and it's a deception. And that, speaking of like road construction issues, we have red light cameras everywhere in this state, and my legislators,
right?
and Dan Duffy and several other legislators, senators and state house reps, that are pushing back and saying, this is a way that is corrupt. It's part of corruption. It's a way for them to bring in tax revenue again and then misspend it in Springfield. So I do appreciate all the efforts that our legislators are stepping up. And the reason they say they can do that is because of the paradigm shift that has literally taken place in Springfield, because Governor Rauner is there. So
can I tell you, I was looking at a press conference that Governor Rauner gave to the Champaign Chamber of Commerce. And it was so refreshing to see this man. He was introduced as the honorable, or the most honorable. And he got up there and said, whoa, I'm not honorable, and I'm no more honorable than you. He was so humble in he was like, thank you, but I'm just a governor. I'm not, you can call me governor because that's the title they gave me, but I'm not, when I guess they gavelled him into the state legislature, at the state, they said the most honorable or his most, I don't know what. He's like, no, please don't call me that. And there's just a certain humility about him.
I met him for the first time about a month and a half ago. And I found him to be a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
And not only that, but the people I know that are working for him, guys like Rich Goldberg, who I'm a big fan of, I really like them. These people are very serious about trying to do a good job and be responsible.
Well, I don't know, a lot of Illinoisans know this, but they're going to work another 120 days just to pay for their local governments in 2015. So you will work 120 days just to pay for your local governments. And they can find that information at the Illinois Policy Institute on their website.
And, I was mentioning, before you came, when Lori was here first, when we were talking in my living room, a.k.a. the green room.
Where the makeup artists are, right?
Right. So, in any event, something like 25, I forget which is pension and which is... what is debt, but I think it's Chicago, but Illinois isn't that far off. I think 25% of the money goes to pension and 24% goes to interest on debt.
Oh my goodness.
So if you're taking in all this money, it's like when half of it goes out the door for something that's not going to do anything to build the government whatsoever. And you're left with half of it. And I mean, that's the reason we've gone from 13,000 police officers here to 9,000 police officers.
Yeah, again, they're using tactics that deceive people into thinking that we're in a real hardship here. And one of the things that they want to say is, oh, well, we have that tax hike. Remember the temporary tax hike that was
Sunsetted.
Yeah, sunsetted. So they're now going to blame this whole thing. And to your point, Avi, we have revenue coming in.
Huge amounts of revenue.
Right. When you make a commitment to the constituents of Illinois, to the residents of Illinois, to the families of Illinois, you need to make sure that you keep those commitments. So yes, by all means, that should sunset, and we should help Governor Ronner and support his efforts and get Illinois turned around.
Right.
Yeah, and by the way, don't forget, too, we're going to get a lot more money from, thank God I got all the major stuff on Amazon before the hike went in. But everybody's paying 6.5% tax on Amazon right now to the state.
Really?
Oh,
I
it's
just
about to
ordered
start.
3. Oh, because I
It's about
just
to
made an
start.
order today.
Good move.
3 books.
Good move.
I'm good?
Yeah.
All right, then.
Well, and Lori and I were talking off camera in the living room, and she brought up another solution that they want is to give more taxes on gas prices, on what we pay for
14
gas.
cents a gallon.
And
Because the price is down, we're not going to notice. We're so used to paying more, we'll gladly give more in
social
taxes.
conditioning, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And by the way, I was in Ohio for Passover, and I will tell you that I noticed the gas prices in Illinois before I traveled, and there are parts of Indiana and Ohio that have 80 cents less per gallon there than here.
Well, what people don't know is when I ran for state representative, one of the things that I didn't know when I was paying at the pump was that all the taxes that are already on there. I think we should make it so that the person getting the receipt, how many people I'm like, oh, I don't need a receipt. Yeah, I want that receipt. I want to see exactly what I'm paying in
It doesn't
taxes.
itemize it, though,
No,
does
it doesn't. I
It
think that
doesn't.
should be something that should be, again,
It's
transparent.
hidden.
Yes.
I actually spent 2 weeks working at a gas station a few blocks from here. That's when you're a writer early on, you better have something else going. And when I saw the figures for how much of it was tax, I couldn't believe it.
Was it on the receipt at that time?
No, it wasn't on the receipt,
Oh,
but
okay.
it was inside the office at the gas station. So I got to see it over there.
You should take a picture of it next time.
Yeah, right.
Well, that
also,
was
I haven't been in
That was a while.
college for a while.
Oh, sorry, I missed that part. I was focused on all the
It was
taxes.
only 2
You got
weeks
2
you were
minutes
there.
left.
Well,
Yeah.
the problem is, too,
I
with
gave 2 weeks notice the minute I started.
Oh my goodness.
I don't
did
know
it
what
for
the
money.
problem is. I just forgot now.
Okay, so anyway,
Well, one thing I want to tell you about that, both when I mentioned it earlier, Danielle and I both went to the Illinois chapter of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, and it was a great event. We had Rachel Campos Duffy come down and speak to us. She is a mother of 7. She lives up in Wisconsin, and most of your audience might know her from MTV, The Real World. That's where she met her husband. In fact, she said we're a product of reality TV.
Yeah, he's a congressman in Wisconsin.
He's a congressman. He's a Republican, and he's also a professional log roller or something. Anyway, they have 7 beautiful kids. But she's also on The View. Sometimes she's on Fox. But anyway, she came down. She showed such moving videos of Hispanics who have come to this country. And one of them moved me almost to tears. It was by Danielle Garza from the Libre Initiative, and that's what she principally is. She's a spokesperson, the spokesperson for the Libre Initiative.
So these warming videos of these families, are they legal immigrants to
Yes.
this country?
Yes, yes.
So then where's their standing on all these presidential, or so not all, but the presidential candidates that have come forward so far, and they're on amnesty?
Well,
Where do they stand on that?
Well, that I know. You'd have to go to the website, libreinitiative.org.
okay, at which point, no offense, Mickey's hands are really there.
Yeah, well, let me just tell you really quick, Avi.
Within 10 seconds.
Within 10 seconds, Dan Proft says it best, and he says, know why you're doing it, and let others know why you're doing it. And she was doing it for the American dream.
I'm not going to get to introduce you guys at the end if we go further. So I want to thank my panel very much. I'd like to thank Lori Diversey, Danielle Rowe, and Jasmine Valesco. I want to thank my entire technical Sonny Hirsch. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sonny.
Everybody stay tuned again next week. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.